This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
For all you need to know about being a vegetarian or vegan, up next is Vegucation Radio on Plains FM.
Hi everyone, welcome to Vegucation Radio with Jasmine, Jaden, Laura and Anna. Today we'll be covering protein requirements and how to get different sources on a vegetarian or vegan diet. We will also be interviewing Ritchie from PHYSIQUE and giving a delicious recipe and talking about up and coming events. Now Laura is going to talk about protein and why it's important. So Laura, what is protein?
So protein's made up of amino acids, 20 different amino acids, which are needed for any function within the body. There are 9 essential amino acids, which are obtained through your foods, and 11 non-essential, which can be synthesized in our bodies. Protein's also essential for the growth and repair of our cells, and is important to maintain muscle mass and bone mass, and keeping the immune system strong and preventing fatigue.
So Laura, are there different types of protein?
Yeah, so there's 2 types of protein. There's functional protein and structural. Structural is generally found in muscle, bone and connective tissue. And the functional proteins include insulin, thyroid hormones and antibodies. So technically the proteins are the coding, like in a computer, that keep everything running smoothly. Cool, so Jasmine, what are the differences for the body between meat protein and vegan protein sources?
Well, meat proteins are generally loaded with large amounts of saturated fat and they contain little fibre, so therefore they contain more calories than plant-based proteins. Vegan protein sources such as tofu, quinoa, beans and legumes are packed with fibre and micronutrients, all which help to increase health and longevity. The main difference is that meat proteins enable you to get all amino acids in one package, and plant proteins require a mixture of sources to obtain all the amino acids. However, with a varied diet, this is easily achievable.
So what about cholesterol in meat? Is that an issue?
So consuming your protein from plant-based sources means that you'll be consuming less saturated fat, which will then lead to lower cholesterol, and therefore you'll have a lower risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. So Laura, what are some good sources of protein on a vegetarian or vegan diet?
So there's actually quite a lot of protein in green peas and broccoli, which also broccoli is a good source of iron. Tofu or tempeh, which is soy, are also some good sources. There's also nuts, which have plenty of the good fats our body needs. So for example, Brazil nuts, walnuts, cashews, or even some peanut butter. Chickpeas, which you can either add into a curry or blitz up in a hummus or combine with spices and herbs for some falafel. Beans such as kidney beans or cannellini beans, also edamame beans. Chia seeds, which can easily be put into a smoothie. Quinoa, which is a complete protein. There are also many vegan meats available at supermarkets made from soy, however these are also highly processed, so should only be consumed occasionally.
Yeah, great. They're all great sources, aren't they? And especially the edamame beans, when you can just get them out of the freezer and just defrost them, and then they're great for a takeaway snack
yeah, so
on the
easy.
run. Yeah. Cool. Yum.
So Jasmine, how much protein do we need?
Men need on average 64 grams per day. But if you want to work it out on your own exact amount, you times 0.84 by your own body weight in kilograms. And now if you're a female, your average recommendation is 46 grams of protein. And again, to work out your own personal values, you would times 0.75 by your body weight in kilograms. So, e.g., say if I weigh 60 kilograms, I would times 60 by 0.75, which would mean I need to consume around 45 grams of protein per day. An example of a typical vegan menu, which would meet the requirements for one day, would be 1 cup of oatmeal, which would be 6 grams, 140 grams of tofu, which is 11 grams, 1 cup of broccoli, which is 4 grams, 1 cup of cooked brown rice, 5 grams, 4 tablespoons of almonds, 7 grams, 1 cup of chopped kale, 2.9 grams, and 1 cup of cooked beans, which is 12 grams. And last, 1 cup of avocado, which is 2.9. And then you just spread those out all over the day.
You're listening to Vegucation Radio on Plains FM.
Hey Nick, how are you today?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Really good.
It's nice to finally meet you in person. I've been following you a bit on Facebook on the plant-based physique. It seems that you've had quite a bit of a journey into the plant-based lifestyle and the fitness industry. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit about your kind of journey into veganism, plant-based nutrition, and your background in the fitness industry and kind of what you're about?
Yeah, sure thing, Jaden. So for me, I've been in the game for over 10 years now as a personal trainer. And the interesting thing is that most of us are educated through our, traditional courses. I've done several different courses through the ISSA and AIPT. And what's interesting about personal training is that although they provide a small section of nutrition, that section is always heavily animal protein based. And in terms of exercise, of course, most people know that that's a good foundation for trainers. But in terms of how I sort of ended up moving into plant-based and promoting plant-based nutrition, it wasn't until about 2.5, 3 years ago now that I was stuffing my face with a lot of animal protein, and I was feeling really bloated and tired and really lethargic, and it was actually affecting my training sessions. And I thought there's got to be a better way. And interestingly enough, when you start looking around, you usually find something. And so what happened was I got an invite to a seminar with somebody called Michelle Nazaroff and David Nazaroff, and they run plant-based seminars over in Perth, Australia, which is where we were at the time. We spent 5 years in Australia before we set up here in NZ. And what was interesting is I got along to that seminar, and Michelle started talking about nutrition, and she's very big in fitness and bodybuilding specifically as well, which was quite interesting because I'd never heard of people who are succeeding in winning trophies in these fitness bodybuilding type competitions and not eating any animal products. So as I listened to her and she spoke about different aspects of plants and what they contained and the different amino acids and some of the myths that are out there, and after that seminar, it sort of really got me thinking there's got to be a different way. I mean, she sort of shared some tips and tricks there. So that was really where my journey started, Jaden. Really just got along to that seminar. It sparked a little light in me, and I started doing research and haven't really stopped ever since, seeing as, I've been a trainer over 10 years. But in terms of my background in nutrition, it was just really heavy in the traditional sense with animal proteins and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. You identified that there are kind of few myths around veganism and the kind of transition, and that you can actually even be big as a bodybuilder, even though some people kind of view, I guess, veganism and plant-based just with a lack of protein. So can you talk about some of those myths about the protein and the amino acids and how the difference that you've made in kind of building muscle and losing weight? I see you've also lost a bit of weight lately, and you're about to start building up again.
Yeah, that's for sure. Absolutely. So the myths, a lot of them are centered around complete proteins, and you guys may have already covered complete proteins a little, but and originally when amino acids were discovered in fats and carbohydrates, scientists wanted to group these macronutrients into their own respective categories so they could sort of categorize them and then categorize certain food groups as being protein-based or carbohydrate-based or fat-based. And so that's where I guess that what scientists figured was that if a food contains a complete amount of amino acids, and what they considered complete was 12 amino acids that they think is essential for human life. But what they actually discovered was that most of that research was done on rats, and that rats require 12 amino acids, but actually humans require 9. And we actually synthesize the majority of the amino acids ourselves, so we actually create most of the amino acids. And so what that really does is that just means that their whole idea of needing to get a complete amino acid profile or a complete, say, building blocks, because amino acids are, of course, building blocks of protein. You can imagine that, if you're wanting to build a house, you build it out of bricks. Well, they're the building blocks. So the amino acids are like the building blocks of a house. So they thought that you would need to consume complete foods that had a complete amino acid profile in order to get a complete amount of protein in your diet. So that's, I guess, the first myth. And what we've discovered over the years is that plants not only contain amino acids, and all plants do, even, broccoli, which are foods that are considered as having almost no protein or no amino acids, foods like that, and then other foods such as, beans and legumes all contain a large amount of amino acids. And so what our body does is it synthesizes the amino acids that we can create, and any amino acids that we get in from our food throughout the day go towards that rebuilding and repairing of not only muscle tissue but organs and that sort of thing. So I think that myth of needing to eat complete proteins throughout the day or needing to eat a food with a certain amount of amino acids in it is one of those ones that's still stuck around now, and a lot of people are still confused about whether they need to eat a food with a complete amino acid profile each meal, or whether they can just eat pretty much any foods throughout the day to maintain a positive, I guess what we call positive nitrogen balance, or a positive amount of protein in the diet. So what we've discovered is people can really just eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, and legumes throughout the day, and they're able to easily hit those amino acid needs. So that's probably one of the biggest myths that's around there, around protein and around amino acids, and a lot of the confusion there.
That's really cool. So basically what you're saying is it's nearly easier to get your protein in more absorbable way from not trying to break down that whole house.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, you don't need to eat the whole house. You can just have a couple of bricks at a time and your body will do the rest.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So given that it's so easy to kind of get the amino acids, what would kind of a normal day's worth of food kind of be to meet those nutritional needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. A normal day's worth of food for, I guess, for someone, as you know, it's going to vary depending on the person's goals and what they want to achieve. But for example, for our the clients that we work with that walk into our gym, a majority of them that start with us are used to eating animal-based foods. And so when we say to them that they don't need to eat any of that, and we provide them with a nutritional framework, what that really looks like is just a nice varied amount of food each day. So what they're going to have is they're going to have fruit, so some bananas and maybe some oatmeal for breakfast, a nice whole grain there. Then a morning tea, they might have another slice of fruit and maybe some nuts. For lunch, they might have a burger made out of some beans mashed together with a little bit of flax seeds. So you're getting some healthy fats and some healthy amino acids in those beans. Of course, amino acids are going to be in everything, but beans are going to have, they have a larger amount of amino acids, and they really help support that recovery process if people are exercising. And then now people move on at dinner time, and they might end up having, maybe some rice with, doesn't necessarily have to be beans. It could be something just like a mixed range of vegetables, like some sweet potatoes and some sort of curry or something like that. So that's just a good example, I think, one example of a varied diet. And, of course, they want to make sure that they're getting in a good rainbow colour of fruits and veg throughout the day.
Cool, that's fantastic. And what would the difference be between someone trying to lose weight or someone trying to gain weight on a vegan diet?
Yeah, so if somebody is wanting to lose weight, then we really think that has to do with the quality of food mixed in with the quantity of food. And so what we do is we sort of share with people that we work with, we share with them a baseline of the amount of food that they should be eating each day in order to lose weight. And so the types of foods that they're eating are going to be a little less important if their goal's just on, say, losing weight or more losing body fat, changing their body shape. That's going to be a little bit different than somebody gaining weight. So somebody losing weight will be a typical example I just shared, where I'm so focused on, say, protein intake. They're more just focused on getting a wide variety of different fruits and vegetables throughout the day. But as for somebody wanting to, say, if they've got some goals to put on some weight or put on some healthy lean muscle, and they're wanting to keep body fat levels pretty low, then what we recommend at this point is that they increase their protein consumption just a little bit. And when I say protein, I'm of course coming back to amino acids. So we want to really look at some foods that have a lot higher amounts of amino acids, because if they're doing some resistance training, they're going to be breaking down the muscle tissue more, and they're going to want to, have their body repairing itself right at the optimal level. And so they're just going to want to increase their consumption of some beans, some legumes, and some nuts and seeds, which all contain higher amounts of these amino acids, those building blocks for the tissues of the body. So, that might go from, instead of in the morning, they're just having their oatmeal and banana. Instead, they might add in, say, maybe some type of powdered protein powder, like a brown rice protein powder or a pea protein or soy, something like that. Or maybe even just some tofu. Tofu scramble is a great one on toast. For a lot of our clients that are used to eating traditional scrambled eggs, they might have some tofu scramble. Then in morning tea, they might have a peanut butter and date chocolate chip cookie. We make those as one of our recipes on our site that we got. And that's a pretty simple one that they can use to boost protein. These are really high in protein. And then at lunchtime, they might have like a curry masala with a little bit of rice and, of course, plenty of vegetables and potatoes. And then at dinner, they're going to have, a little bit more lentils or something like that. A little bit of lentil, like a curry dal or something like that, or maybe a Mexican dish with some lentils or beans, like red kidney beans, and spice it up a little. So as you can see, the bean legumes content is raised a bit more, just to help support that recovery. And if they really need a little bit extra amino acids, they can always throw in maybe a scoop of some type of plant-based protein powder, which, interestingly enough, have been shown. I've got plenty of papers showing that their comparison between the animal-based protein powders are right on par. So they work just as effectively as any of the whey or egg powders.
So basically, with body transformation, would you recommend that someone takes supplements such as protein and stuff?
In terms of supplements, our stance on, say, protein supplements for people wanting to transform their body, we don't think people need to take supplements. We think some people's lifestyle would make it easier if they take maybe, say, a protein powder. For me personally, I'm sort of experimenting around at the moment with, some days I might try a protein powder, some days I'm trying more beans. For example, yesterday I had 2 cups of uncooked lentils and 2 cans of chickpeas, and that put me over 180 grams of protein for the day, which is considered quite a lot of protein. But we don't think any supplements are necessary. With our clients, we do have a couple of, basic recommendations. Say, for example, in New Zealand, our soils are deficient, so in selenium. So a lot of people find that they're quite low in selenium if they get tested. So what we say is you can either have 1 Brazil nut a day or you can have a selenium supplement. So regarding supplements, another one would be seaweed, for example. And most people are quite low in iodine. That's also low in the soils. But, and when I say most people are low in these vitamins, it's not necessarily just vegans. It's also meat eaters as well, because they're, eating from the same soil. So, seaweed once a week, a good seaweed salad from the Asian store that'll boost those iodine levels up and help their thyroid function at optimal, and then they're able to get the best body change results as well. So I guess from a standpoint of supplements, we don't have any that we think is 100% necessary, but if they can't, or their lifestyle factors don't quite equate for getting in the types of specific foods, then they can use supplements as more of an insurance policy.
Cool. Fantastic. No, that sounds really good. And that's all the questions we have for you today. So thank you very much for coming along here and speaking to us about protein. It's been an absolute privilege to talk to you, and we're very, very thankful for your in-depth knowledge. Is there anything else you'd just like to mention today?
No, that's pretty good. It's been a pleasure catching up, and if anybody wants that peanut butter and date chocolate chip brownie, the high protein one made out of chickpeas, that's on the Plant PHYSIQUE website.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're listening to Vegucation Radio on Plains FM.
Nick mentioned before the recipe that's on his website of peanut butter and date chocolate cookies. Doesn't that sound yum? Just for your info, his website is www.plantphysique.com. Okay, here is the recipe. It takes only 5 minutes to make, and it's gluten-free, dairy-free and vegan-friendly, and you can have it ready to eat from beginning to end in 30 minutes. Okay, so the ingredients are 1 can of chickpeas, drained and rinsed, or 1.5 cups of cooked chickpeas if you'd rather do it from scratch, 70 grams of peanut butter, 10 medjool dates. I'm not sure that's how you say it, but anyway, 10 medjool dates, 4 tablespoons of flaxseed meal, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon baking powder, a pinch of salt, and half a cup of vegan chocolate chips. So it's very, very easy. All you have to do is add all the ingredients except for the chocolate chips, or put them into a high-powered blender and blend them. After that, you add the chocolate chips and stir them through. Wet your hands and roll the cookies into balls and then flatten them with a fork. Then you bake them for 25 to 30 minutes at 175 degrees Celsius, which is 300 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you with old ovens like my one. Cool them down, and the longer they cool, the harder the cookies will become. That's it. But as I say, you will find it if you look up peanut butter and date chocolate chip cookies on www.plantphysique.com. Thanks for that, Nick. This is Anna from the Christchurch Vegetarian Centre, just going to tell you some of our upcoming events. Did you know that Saturday, April the 23rd, 2016 is New Zealand Vegan Pizza Day? Well, you do now. The Christchurch Vegetarian Centre is having a vegan pizza potluck. That's at 6 o'clock at 4 Far Courts, which is at 95 4 Far Street. Please bring a vegan pizza for us all to share. You can have a homemade one or bought, if you prefer. It's $3 for venue hire. Hopefully we'll see you at 6 o'clock on April the 23rd at 4 Far Courts. The CVC's next major event is a lunch at the Welcome Cafe, which is on Sunday, May the 8th at 12:30. That will be before our next broadcasting of this show. If you're interested in coming to that, if you could contact me, info@vegetarianchristchurch.org.nz. And the Vegan Dining Group, they're going to the Governor's Bay Hotel on Saturday, April the 16th. The Governor's Bay Hotel is providing a special menu, or you can order off their regular vegan menu if you prefer. We also have all of our regular groups. If you want to know more about them, please check out our website, www.vegetarianchristchurch.org.nz, or email me on info@vegetarianchristchurch.org.nz. Since the last show, we've heard of at least one person who's decided to become a vegetarian. If you have any comments about our show, or if you're thinking about becoming vegetarian or vegan yourself and you need more information, please email me, info@vegetarianchristchurch.org.nz, and I or my colleagues will do our absolute best to help you. Thank you very much for listening to our show, and hopefully you'll be listening to us again next month. Our next show will be on the second Wednesday in May. You've been listening to Vegucation Radio on Plains FM 96.9. Thanks and goodbye.